Hi guys, instead of being deeply critical of Boris Johnson's role as Prime Minister during the COVID crisis, Nadine Dorries, the former Tory who recently defected to Reform UK, was giving interviews to the media where she basically described this as Boris Johnson's finest hour. Have a listen to this.
I saw him, I think, at his best at that time. So, there's a reason why this country got the first vaccinations into arms. And it's the reason why this country was the first to come out of lockdown. And it was because Boris Johnson personally picked up the telephone to vice-chancellors of Oxford University, of AstraZeneca. He pleaded with those research and drug companies not to take the vaccine to the US, to fund it here in the UK, to manufacture it here in the UK. I saw the 18 hours a day that he was putting in to make that happen. I do wish people would actually put the country first when they're thinking about making these attacks. Now, obviously, that's, as you've just informed me, I haven't seen it today, was in the COVID report. That COVID report was informed by many people giving information, including Dominic Cummings, who was a bad actor throughout. He's the guy who went to Barnard Castle. He was a bad actor throughout COVID. So I really do wish that people would think about putting the country first before they attack. Play the ball rather than the man.
How can anyone look back and describe this as Boris Johnson at his best? Boris Johnson's finest hour was during the COVID crisis, during the pandemic. If we go back, when it began, Boris Johnson refused to wear a mask. He refused to go into lockdown, even though the scientists were instructing him, look, we need to go into a lockdown. Boris Johnson refused and refused and refused. He ignored the scientists and he listened to his backbenchers. Eventually, he was pushed into going into a lockdown. And then when the scientists were saying we need to remain in lockdown, what did Boris Johnson do? He tried to exit as soon as possible. Not because he was following the science, but because he was listening to his backbenchers. And these backbenchers were demanding that the country come out of lockdown in order for people to make money again. And then, of course, there was the second lockdowns and the third lockdowns. And on many occasions, it was a situation where the scientists were struggling with Boris Johnson to take the right approach. So I don't know how you could describe this as his finest moment or him at his best, unless the bar is set really, really low. Now, when it comes to the vaccine rollout, I believe also Hungary was rolling out the vaccine at about the same time as the UK. Now, we know that even though Brexiteers try and sell it as it was a benefit of Brexit, that's not true. But we saw later other countries were catching up. But it was not a race. I had described it at the time. It's not a race. We all have to be in this together. Because there's no point having one part of the world vaccinated and the other not, because then we're going to see spikes begin again, or we're going to see a resurgence. So it's important that we all go in the same direction. We all roll it out together, as close to possible together. But Boris Johnson and his party were trying to turn it into some sort of race. They were turning it into a political football, and we saw the consequences of that. Now, no mention here of the PPE contracts, no mention here of the corruption, no mention here of the Tory donors who were setting up companies in order to win contracts. No, this was Boris Johnson's finest hour. This is Boris Johnson at his best. I've said before, she's a sycophant for Boris Johnson. She will never criticise him. She will always say that he was the greatest Prime Minister and that he was stabbed in the back when it came to his eventual removal. And she would jump ship tomorrow if Boris Johnson were to lead the Conservative Party again. And maybe that will happen. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.